Okay, so today I'm going to demonstrate how to go from belaying my climber direct on the anchor using my auto-blocking belay device to baseline, and then transitioning to keeping them held on baseline while I rappel down to the climber to see how they're doing. So step number one is to get my hand free. So I'm belaying. I need to, well, before I do that, let me just give a little look at my anchor here. So I've got my belay hand, I've got my belay strand, I've got my belay device. This strand is going to the climber. This strand is tied into me and going to a clove hitch on a locking carabiner on the shelf. And then this strand is going down to a pile. So there's a pile of rope down on the floor where those two strands connect. All right, so now I've got to get this hand free. Any catastrophe knot tied in the rope here would allow me to be hands free. But if I give myself a little extra rope and tie an overhand on a bite and clip that with a locking carabiner onto my harness, onto my belay loop, and lock that, then kind of no matter what else I do, I'm going to be good. So I'm going to go ahead and get hands free at this point. The tension is being held by the auto locking belay device and holding it there. The next step is to hold the climber on a bridge direct to the anchor so that I can release the tension from this belay device and get the belay device back to me so I can use it to rappel and to get them tied off at baseline. So I'm going to use my long cordelette to create a bridge. So here are the ends of my cordelette, and I'm going to the middle point on my cordelette, and I'm going to tie a prusik hitch this time on my cordelette. 3 times through is the magic on the prusik hitch. 1, 2, 3 times through. And now when I tighten that up and get it all dressed, I can test that and make sure it's really holding, and it is. That's great. And then I need to do a locking carabiner up on this end. And I'm going to do it up on the shelf where, just need to get this out of my hand. All right, so I've got my prusik hitch tied, and I'm taking it up to a carabiner on the shelf where I'm going to pull tight and tie a munter hitch. So I've got my munter hitch up here on my prusik cord, and then I'm going to tie a mule hitch. And pull enough slack through there that I can finish that with an overhand. All right. If I didn't get that all the way tight, I can press that hitch, that prusik hitch down so that it's really taking the tension and directing it direct up to my anchor. And now I can take my belay device and do a little a little loosening until there's slack here on my belay device, that the tension in the line is being held by the bridge and going to the anchor. And my belay device is now loose on that. So at this point, I'm going to take a little bit of that slack and I'm going to clip it into this carabiner that I'm redirected into. And I'm going to take the belay device and slide it off of that carabiner and lock it. Now at this point, this belay device is providing no belay for my climber, and the bridge is not to be trusted as the belay either. What's belaying them is the figure eight, or the overhand on a bite that's tied into me and is redirected here. I was careful to redirect it before unclipping this so that I didn't introduce all of this extra slack in the system. There's only maybe about a foot of slack in the system right now, which is great. I'm going to take my belay device out and put it on my harness. I'll need it in a minute. Okay, so now I'm going to tie a munter hitch here. And I'm going to pull tight and tie that and lock it. And there's my munter hitch. And then I'm going to tie a mule hitch right here. And this is where it gets pretty close, but I can finish that mule with an overhand on a bite around the line. And I can take myself out of this. This catastrophe knot is backing up a munter mule. The munter mule is good by itself, so I can untie that and be hands-free. At this point, I'm going to release my bridge. Might be a little pop. I release the bridge. The tension goes on to the munter mule hitch, which is directly on the climber's line. I can now take this carabiner off and take this cordelette off. I'm going to hold on to this cordelette for a later time, so I'm just going to tie it in a big bundle and put it on my harness. Okay, the climber is tied off on a munter mule, locked. I'm going to take this carabiner and put it down here on the master point. I'm going to take the brake hand side of the munter mule, and I'm going to tie a figure eight on a bite. And there's just a little bit of slack here that's just keeping my weight, that this is going to become the rappel strand, and this keeps my weight off of the backside of the munter hitch. I can go ahead and clip that in and lock it. Now, if I were short on carabiners, this locking carabiner that I'm clipping into could easily be an opposite and opposed set of non-locking carabiners, and that would be fine as well. Now I've got a line that's clipped directly to the anchor that I can rappel on. So now I'm going to set up a rappel on that line. I'm going to do that with one of my double shoulder length slings. Okay, so I'm going to take my double shoulder length sling. And for this, I think we should tilt a little bit. I'm going to take my double shoulder length sling and run it through the hard points of my harness. I'm going to get that set up so that the bar tack on that is pretty close to my hard my hard points down here, and I'm going to tie an overhand knot in both strands. That creates 2 strands to clip into and 2 strands going through my harness, so I am redundant here. I'm going to clip my belay device into that, and I'm going to use this strand and set myself up on a rappel and pull that right up close to that knot. Okay, so let me just ignore this little loop here. There's my rappel. Now I need my short cordelet to do actually, I'm going to do my auto block up above. So I'm going to go, and I'm actually going to tie a climb heist up here, up above my belay device, on the rappel strand, which is a little bit unorthodox, but it works. And you'll see in a minute why that is a handy thing to do. And once again, I'm going to test this, make sure that that's good. And then I'm going to tie that into my harness, also through the hard points, with a shoulder length sling. Okay, here's my shoulder length sling. I need a locking carabiner. Let's see here. I have a locking carabiner, so I'm going to use an opposite and opposed set. No, that didn't do it. Opposite and opposed set of carabiners. And I'm going to put it on my sling here, so that that is a backup for my rappel. And now I'm ready to, I'm going to tie a catastrophe knot in my rappel line so that I can't fall off this ledge and hurt myself. And then I'm going to get free right here. Now notice I'm staying tied in to the end of the line. This is going to keep me from possibly rappelling off the end of the line. I can't rappel off the end of this line because I will hit my own knot. Okay, so now I can sit down on my belay device, and with one hand on my brake and one hand on my hitch, I can begin to rappel. Oh, catastrophe knot. Don't forget to untie it. All right, I'm out.